Reclaiming Timeless Ways, welcome back. Mike Traster, Simon Fuller, episode 106. We're glad you're joining us for it. And Mike, well, this is a show of learning, and that's kind of the topic, right?
Yes. So we got two concepts that I want to combine into one.
Great.
One is how people learn, and the other is turning a failing student into a successful student. I said an A student. Well, let's just say successful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, I'm on board with that, and those seem to pair up nicely. So what do you got?
Well, for one thing, I mean, some people, like, you hear people say things all outrageously ignorant things like just a stupid mechanic. My God, these guys are very smart.
Yeah.
And what they are is they have mechanical and spatial aptitude, and they learn kinesthetically. They learn that they're by handling things, by touching things.
Mm-hmm.
They understand how things interact with one another mechanically, how they work and don't work. So you don't sit a mechanics student down in a chair and tell them to sit still and listen politely, and you will know how to fix brakes.
Right.
Doesn't work. They are hands-on learners, so they're called kinesthetic learning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So another one is, how fast do you learn? You learn at your speed, right? So some people learn when you tell them something once. They have it's like an electric wire. The wider the wire, the more easily current moves through it, right? Less resistant. So some people are auditory learners. They learn by listening. Some people are visual learners. You write a statement on the blackboard and it goes boom in, right? And they got it. They grasp it. So the tactile is the kinesthetic, right? Some people need different numbers of repetitions than others. I say, for me, to really, not to get something minimally adequate, but to begin to have a firm foundation, I think 10 is a good number.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
For somebody else, it might be 3. For somebody else, it might be 100. I don't know. Neither one of those is wrong.
Right.
It's their nature. But the question is, if, let's say the average number is 10 or 8 or 15, whatever it is. So you've got some guy and he's done 10 and he's not very good. Do you give him an F or do you let him go to 20? Because he's already halfway there.
Yeah.
And when he's at 20, if he's only barely adequate, do you stop him and say, hey, you just dog crap bad at this? Or do you say, let's double it, right? What if he has to go to 100? You've already invested. Why throw it away?
Right.
He wants to do it, right? Let him take more time. So this is where we'd have this bridge into making an A student into a successful student. And that is, you've already made an investment. I use the example of algebra. Okay. So I was not a fast algebra learner, right? I wasn't horrible, but I was mediocre, So let's say that one person learns at the rate of A, and A means they can gain mastery of a series of operations in 6 months.
Okay.
And another person learns on level B. That means they need a year. And the third person learns on level C. So they need 18 months to learn those same number of operations and become competent. So you get the class, everybody's in the class, and the class is a class which is rigidly defined as being B, 6 months, right? So at the end of 6 months, you test them to see if they can demonstrate a passing number of operations successfully. And if they do, they get a passing grade, and if they don't, they get an F. Now, at the beginning, at the end of the year, they have an F on their report, and at the next year, they've had 3 or 6 months off. They remember being a failure. They're experiencing shame, right? And their sense of themselves is, I'm dumb. What do you think is going to happen to them if they retake that class?
Right.
So what I say is you have an open class, whether it takes you 3 months or 2 years. If it takes you 2 years, but at the end of that 2 years, you have removed your learning resistance because it takes more repetition, and you've become adequate and then competent, maybe even more than competent. You haven't failed twice, you've succeeded once.
Right.
So who's failing, the student or the school? They have a system with a set of concepts that got blown out of a donkey's ass. Right? They're fools. They're wasteful. And they're taking this child and they are teaching this child to reject their own ability to learn. And then they're going to spend their whole life and they're going to be the butt of their own jokes. It's okay as long as you know it's a joke. But if you really feel it, I'm a math idiot. I'm a complete freaking moron when it comes to math. Right? That's fine. We joke about that with art or math or conjugating verbs. I could conjugate verbs. I just wasn't great at it. I also didn't care a whole lot. Right? It wasn't going to define my life. Right. I could say, bonjour, Simon, comment vas-tu? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Hi, Simon, how are you? What are you doing? That was from 50 some odd years ago, but I've forgotten more words than I care to remember, sure. Right? But the point is, are you setting people up to succeed or to fail? And anybody that tells you, yeah, but, is a failure programmer, because they're making justifications for getting this person to fail. We had a girl in my 6th grade class, and her nickname was Cement Head. Right? She stuttered a lot when she spoke. And she was very shy. She was kind of socially awkward, a little kind of thin girl, very bashful. And she had a hard time being in a group because she was laughed at and she was treated with contempt. Well, Cementhead went on to earn a bachelor's degree in science in one of the medical fields, which took a great deal of intelligence. Maybe not a genius, but a smart person. So somewhere, the beating that she got as a kid, both in her class and in her family, was transcended. And somebody told her, you know what? You're able to succeed and you're allowed. You have permission to succeed. And I'm going to help you to succeed. Now, how long did she practice cement-headedness before that was chipped away? What is it that we know about cement? It's impenetrable, right? Apparently that was horseshit.
Yeah.
Right? Now this girl was going to get effed out of her whole life of productivity and intelligence and worth to others and to self if she accepted that program. She almost did. But I knew another one. I had a friend who turned out not to be a good friend for a lot of ethical reasons. I don't know if this person was anyone's friend. But he had a cousin, and I remember he would very derisively, he went to one of the fancy schools up in in the northeast part of the United States. Real top tier, right? Anyway, he always used to talk about this girl. Her name is unimportant. He always would say 3 words. She's an idiot. And you could hear him. He would say, she's an idiot, like that. And I mean, he would say it repeatedly and vehemently. She became a physical therapist. That's about as hard as becoming a physician. It's almost impossible to get in the program. It's a killer program. And he was one of the people that wanted to beat her down. No. So when you have this system that says you can't learn, and if you can't learn in X number of months, you can't learn. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
You can learn. But if you have an open end, so let's say you teach somebody public speaking, but they can't look at people, right? So you teach them one thing. And say, well, let me ask you a question. If it's me and you're my teacher, are you going to teach me to try to impress you, or are you going to teach me to try to help you? All of a sudden, there's a light that goes on in their head, and they go, well, if you're trying to help me, you're not worrying about what you look like. Oh. Well, if I'm worrying about what I look like, can I possibly relax? No. Absolutely not, right? But if I'm helping you, how much of my attention is focused on my theatrical presentation of myself? Huh?
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Right? So I'm not drowning myself.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the basic idea. The other idea is let's say we have 3 tiers of students. Maybe it's 5, I don't know. But you give them rewards for training the person a step or 2 below them. So you let that A student who has very little learning resistance become a teaching assistant. Maybe you give them credit for that. So they help the student who can't succeed into somebody who can succeed. Right? So everybody becomes more competent. You know? And I mean, if you think about it, or if you look at like somebody breaking things into small pieces, like I was watching somebody play classical guitar, which is inspiring to me, you know, and I think about how incredibly complex that is. You think, well, it looks impossible. There was that one guy, what was his name? He was a country and Western guitarist, but he could also play classical. He passed away a few years ago. He was a bulky guy, and he had kind of a round face and kind of curly red hair. He was on Hee Haw. Really great guitarist. But some of the stuff he played was incredibly difficult. But when you watch and you see, if you start it and stop it, so you can see somebody hit 3 notes, and you think, I can't play that. And you're right, or I'm right, right? Couldn't do it in a year or 2 or 3 or 5. But maybe I could learn those 3 notes.
Sure.
And then I could add one more to it. And then maybe I learned to stumble a little less, right? Or strain a little less. Or make horrible sounds a little less. It doesn't sound like a cat dying.
Yeah.
Well, you know, so and 3 becomes 4 becomes 5. And then I ask myself, well, I'm making my hand really tight. If I loosen my hand, my finger's going to work better. You ask so you ask your student, are you doing anything to make yourself get in your own way?
Yeah.
Right? What are you saying to yourself? What are you picturing? I bet you do that all the time with your employees.
Yeah, I mean, the mind, it is your greatest asset, and it is absolutely can be your greatest weakness.
Yeah.
If you say you can or can't, you're right.
Huh? Yeah.
I mean, it's really that simple. If you say you can or can't,
Mhm.
you're right.
Yeah.
And I know you're not all about cliches, Mike, but that's a true one.
That's not a cliche.
Oh.
Oh, no. No, that's like a hammer. It's very useful.
It's been told many, many a times, and it's true. It's just so true.
Yeah. No, I think that's, if you had 100 thoughts, maybe that would be one worthy of writing down,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Take away the maybe. If you had 100 thoughts, that would be one.
To make the list.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So, when you don't start playing the whole, what was that piece of music? Bach-Lute Suite, gorgeous, complicated. There was a guy named Paganini, and he wrote classical music, and he had a joke. He would write pieces of music that nobody could play. He was like laughing at the whole world. I think he was a guitarist. I don't know if he built guitars, but he played, I think, a guitar, maybe a lute, and other things, perhaps. But eventually somebody showed up that could do it. So the joke got flipped hundreds of years later. A guy named John Williams. Oh, really? Not the composer. He's the same name, different person. Brilliant. Or there's a woman named Sharon Isbin. Ooh, she plays. The only way I could describe her guitar playing is like watching crystal clear water flow down stream around rocks effortlessly. Never seen anything like it in my life. But she started off being horrible,
Yeah.
right? Being unspeakably, unforgivably, hopelessly atrocious.
Yeah.
And then she became, maybe in her own right, as brilliant as anyone walking the face of the earth
Wow.
in that world, And why can't that happen with math or language?
It can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a young kid I talk to every now and then. She wants to write. I've given her a couple of ideas. I think I told her about my muse running away. But I think simple steps,
Yeah.
you know. So that,
Most of your advice starts with that.
yeah,
One step, one dot, one day, one movement. 3 minutes of Tai Chi, everything.
oh yeah,
I mean, that's the core of every one of your teachings
Mhm.
because it's manageable, Mike. What did you say earlier? It's so easy that maybe you didn't say it just that way, but you make it so easy that you're foolish to not be able to do it, in a sense.
right.
And that is the next step.
Stupid simple.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got a buddy, again, we've referenced him in other shows, struggling after some major health issues, literally died, still battling back. Was doing really good at walking and just things got overwhelming in life. Okay, can you walk to the mail and back each day?
What
And then
can
to
you
the
do?
bank and back each
Right.
day. So he's doing that. That's something.
Right.
And that's, in essence, a big piece of the core within what you're saying.
I remember when I learned my Tai Chi form, when I finally learned the third form, which I've radically altered. So it's mine much more now than anyone else's. But when I finally learned it, immediately after, was a couple of years after I'd been hurt and had the head traumas, I forgot it. My brain just went completely blank. Now, an hour later, I remembered it again. And I remember having to say to myself, I can't possibly have forgotten it, but I am overlooked.
Yeah.
So if I let it go, it'll come back.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And how often does that very thing happen? Right? I don't know how many. I think there's 400 or 500 moves in my form,
Yeah.
and I probably added 100. I've subtracted some and added maybe 100 more. Um, Lately, I've only practiced a simpler part of the beginning, which I have altered also. And I think, like one of the things I might tell my students is you might find a part that you don't like so much and another part you find beautiful, you know? And you can just enjoy the beauty of the part that you love. And then if you don't like a part, ask yourself why. And you might find, well, I'm out of balance or I'm stiff, or it's hard to move that far. What does it mean? You know, doesn't have, if it doesn't, if I don't understand the meaning of the movement, I'm not motivated to do it. So like if I see somebody goes like this, I say, well, that's a block, or this, that's another block with that's a strike, you know, or if you come up like that, well, that's a rising block. And well, then there's this weird move where you come down like this and then turn your hand. That's freeing yourself from a grab, you know, and they call it grass needle from bottom of sea, right?
Okay.
And when you hear that, you're like, that doesn't make. In a sense, it's kind of poetic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you're down here, you come back like you just grasped that. You came down and then you grasped it, but that's the reversal of motion. But you're actually what you're doing is you're moving opposite to the thumb. That's what frees you from that grip. So, but what I found was my teacher was teaching me this. He was a good teacher, but he didn't understand. And he was a good martial artist, aside from Tai Chi, but he hadn't learned a lot of the meanings. And I had to start analyzing them and actually asking him, maybe it means this. And that made it more fun to learn. So with the math, back to the math, you take a math idiot, they may not be a math idiot, they just may have a long period of resistance because their brain isn't originally wired. And so, like in the 40s and 50s and 60s, everybody knew that IQs were fixed. So if you were born with an IQ of 126, that was you forever. It's no longer recognized.
Right.
Now that's bullshit. And so you can practice language or math or art. And the other thing is, there might be 20 or 30 different aptitudes. So imagine a huge piece of pie. And if every one of those is a wedge, so you picture it as being a pie that you like, right? Like
Apple
apple, yeah.
with a scoop of ice cream. I hope.
Absolute vanilla, right? Right. So each one of those is like a reward. So the more you practice, the more you get. So you become better at art. When you become better, that means your IQ increases.
Mm-hmm.
Can you increase your IQ in two areas? Let's say there's 20 areas on the pie. Can you increase 10% of that or two areas? Yeah. Can you increase 5? Can you increase all 20? Absolutely. So how do you increase it?
Practice, repetition, patience.
Yeah. Little bits of sand, but they add up to beaches or thunder beaches. So I guess that pretty much covers it. I remember looking at things thinking this is too complicated. And then the thing I had to say to them, well, this is too difficult. This is too rigorous, running up a very long, extremely steep hill. So what I had to learn, now I did not have great giftedness as a distance runner. I'm too big. At my skinniest as an adult, I was 190 pounds. Mm-hmm. Distance runners are 120 pounds.
Right.
Right. So I had 70 pounds of muscle carried, or 80. So what I had to do was think one breath, one step. This breath, this step. Right. So that's a metaphor. So I'm not looking at a whole page of numbers. What I want to do is I want to literally, sometimes what you have to do is take 4 pieces of paper and block out everything on the page that you're not looking at. Because there's a thing, and it happens with everybody, different people to different degrees. There's a thing called flooding. And flooding is when you get so much information. Like if you're in a room with 20 people talking loud, you can't hear the person.
No.
So you're flooded. And everything becomes incomprehensible noise and you get overloaded. And then you basically freeze, right? You want to withdraw. So if you have a page and you've got you've got 5 words you want to remember, like camion means truck, or avion is an airplane, voiture is car. So you want to just look at those 3 words. You don't want to see the other 75 words on the page. So you cover them. Now you're not distracted and you're not diminished, and you're not you're not turning yourself into a pessimist.
Yeah.
Because you're only seeing those little bits. So you're not. And if you forget, if you develop momentary amnesia about the other 72 words, now you can succeed with those 3.
Yeah.
Right. So blocking off a page. That's one of the reasons why flashcards work so well.
Mm-hmm.
Just relaxed repetition.
Yeah.
When the minute you start forcing an idea into your head is the minute that you stop being able to recall it.
Yeah.
So there was a girl that was failing pharmacology in my class, and somebody decided that I was the one that was going to rescue her. And I taught her how to use flashcards. She passed. And we spent an hour with her. And it was nice. It was wonderful. I didn't know. She was like that cement head girl. She was so shamed. She was actually very sweet. Very sweet. But she had been beaten down to the point where she was so in the state of such withdrawn shame that she was invisible. I literally didn't know that she was a member of the class.
Yeah.
She was that shamed. She was shamed into invisibility. So I guess that's one of the things if you're in a teaching role where you have to observe that. And then you tell a story.
Yeah.
You tell a story about somebody else. That way they're not experiencing shame. Right? And you tell them about somebody that felt like they couldn't, and then they tried a little piece and they could, and then they gave them a second or a third piece, and then it blended. Math, language, storytelling, whatever. And what do you think about all that?
It sounded to me like you were ending with your sales, your three-step sales process there.
Yeah. Feel, felt, found.
That's kind of what you were explaining with this gal just a moment ago. So, anyway, no, I feel like you're right.
Yeah.
Good information. I think everybody is a little bit, many people, most of us are a little bit different.
Right.
Understand yourself, and as an educator, a friend, help evaluate and learn in their world. Meet them at them.
Right. I think for all learning, when everybody experiences difficulty in some subject, there's nothing wrong with getting a tutor every now and then.
Right.
Maybe if you can't afford it, you might be able to do a trade. Mow your lawn.
Right.
Or I'll wax your car, whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they help you to reduce your learning resistance. So if you're not resistant, you're more graceful and efficient. And now you're learning.
Very good.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
You made it through 6 episodes without slamming his book down. I'm very impressed with your anger management classes you've been taking, Mike. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Reclaiming Timeless Ways. Until next time, have a great day.